All right, today I want to recap Lincoln Riley's press conference ahead of Texas Tech and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today I want to recap Lincoln Riley's press conference ahead of Oklahoma's game versus Texas Tech. And I gotta say, it was much better than I thought it would be because I'm kind of down on this game. If you've already seen the preview, you understand why. But I want to get to what Lincoln had to say and just kind of go through the bullet points and try to get you caught up because there were some interesting nuggets here. He used the bye week to evaluate the young guys heading into the 4-game redshirt rule, which he expected, right? It's significant that Oklahoma has 2 bye weeks this season. That's a luxury that a lot of teams don't have. Seems like Oklahoma's kind of fallen into a couple of luxuries the last couple of years, especially with last year. You had like 7 games on the home schedule. It's kind of nice, not to mention Big 12 and then getting to go to college football playoff. I think if Oklahoma's going to have an opportunity to win a national championship, you're going to need some of these freshmen to contribute in quite a big way. And you get those couple of weeks. This next one is probably going to be much more about injury prevention and about freshening kids up. But by that time, we'll know who the freshmen are going to be that contribute to Oklahoma's success in a very real way. He gave the team Thursday, Friday, Saturday off, which you expected. Again, a bye week, and he specifically said, hey, for some of the guys, this might be their only opportunity to get away, to go home to see some family and get back here and go through this first stretch of Big 12 conference play, of course, ahead with Texas Tech. He gave a shout out to defensive lineman and linebacker Jordan Brooks, a defensive lineman and linebacker Jordan Brooks, ahead of the game, saying they're 2 of their best players on the defense and that they're going to game plan for them. Yes, they are, and yes, they will. But again, I sincerely believe that Oklahoma is just going to run roughshod over this 3-3 front and probably even limit how often they throw the ball against the secondary because that is a strength of Matt Wells' defense this year with Keith Patterson calling plays there. Many of you will know Keith Patterson was the defensive coordinator at Tulsa at one point. Said the offensive line had over 100 starts at Texas Tech. That's actually really good and very significant. They should be able to move the ball running it from time to time. We'll see what Jet Duffy or Jackson Teener can do. I think we're going to see more Duffy than we see Jackson, but we'll see. Callum Sutherland is, Lincoln is extremely, words are hard today. Lincoln is extremely disappointed with kicker Callum Sutherland. Over the weekend, he picked up a public intoxication arrest from Norman Ph.D. He said, look, we're going to handle it, and I'm not going to go through how we're going to handle it because he does not want to put the kid on blast, as he said, in front of the country, in front of the world. But we'll see what that means about him kicking against Texas Tech because that, to me, would be punishment that we can actually see as opposed to what might be more significant. Redshirt sophomore. We all know about the public intox thing. I think that it could be significant because Gabe Burkich is kind of a 1B there. And any opportunity to give that dude a chance to kick field goals, I'm sure he wants to take. And we'll see what this means because Callum has been perfect on extra points. He's 2 for 4 on field goals. On Bridges, all right, said if we move someone to a permanent position, we'll tell y'all. I wouldn't say it here because they're getting ready to play an opponent. I know that there was some hubbub because I made this upload. It was reported on Insider. I think it was reported at Rivals, a couple other places, that Bridges had asked to play some nickel and some safety. And then later on, Lincoln had said, look, we got a bunch of guys that we look at to play all 3 sides, and when something becomes permanent, we'll tell you, but they have lots of dudes they claim that can play every position, well, not every position, but every position in all 3 phases. And I'm going, if that's the case, that's only going to inspire more, let's call it rumor or speculation among fans who want to see some of these bigger wide receivers play in the secondary. And good on Jason Kersey, who asked a question later. It's like, hey, do you have guys that resist playing defense because you're so good offensively? It's like, no, not really. We just want to figure out who can do what, and we want to be in the best position to win. I think this speaks to what I believe, which is that you're a football player, but your identity is very important. If you identify as a wide receiver, it's going to be difficult to play defensive back. If you'd identify as defensive back, it's going to be difficult to play wide receiver. I don't think that everybody's cut out to go both ways. And I certainly don't think that a lot of people are cut out to play one side of the ball and then switch to the other side of the ball. Although it does work from time to time. I mean, think about Joel Lanning out at Iowa State, went from quarterback to middle linebacker, and that worked just fine because he could play the position. Jalen coming here to win games. Yeah. Look, that was a very interesting question that was asked. I think it was by Garen Emick at the Tulsa World, which was, where were some of the things that you need to see from Jalen that you didn't necessarily know when he came to play quarterback? And Lincoln actually said something I thought was really insightful, which is his buy-in. I wanted to know how bought into the program he was going to be for two reasons. The first is he's had a million offensive coordinators at Alabama, and that can play on you, and that can play on your nerves. You're having to learn a different system. You're having to learn how somebody else does it, and you're having to force yourself to go along with their thinking. The next thing was he's been very successful. Now you can talk about 26-2 as a starter, and now 29-2, or 26-2 as a starter at Bama, 29-2 as a starter overall. So he knows what he's doing, and maybe he wouldn't have taken the coaching because he knows he can win. But Lincoln says, I've been very impressed by what he has bought into, how often he's bought into it, and even him buying into it a little bit more during game preparation, not game preparation, during game time than in game preparation. I thought that was interesting and insightful. Let's see, continue to go down here. He had talked about the new challenges that the defense is going to see against the Big 12, and I think that is also significant because, as he pointed out, you've seen some great individual players, De'Aaron King among them in non-conference, but against Big 12 opponents, you're going to see better units. You're going to see better offenses. You're going to see the kind of offenses that give the Big 12 this reputation as a pass-happy, no-defense league. It's just everybody in this league is pretty much great at scoring the football. But after seeing outstanding individuals, seeing these better units, but you're also going to see the best skill players in the entire country. Now, caveat, Oklahoma sees the best skill position players in the entire country every single practice. So, okay, cool. Tylan Wallace is great. Chuba Hubbard is great. We can look around and say Charlie Brewer can play. Sam Ehlinger is great. We could see Devin Duvernay is becoming a dude. But again, I just say it, you go against the best in practice. We got the numbers to prove it. So it shouldn't be that big a deal. Let's see. They have to cut penalties. He said that. That's one of the things that he wanted to see them cut down on when they play Texas Tech and throughout the year, because you can hurt yourself in a lot of different ways, but one of the ways that infuriates fans and coaches the most is when laundry comes out. The yellow laundry on the field is a no-no. Don't like seeing it, especially pre-snap. Things that are completely under your control, like paying attention to the snap count, right? Those are things that need to be cleaned up. He says we have more guys that are ready to play all three sides of the ball than people realize. I mentioned that. Rambo, like Creed, was asked to redshirt last year, because of what they had in mind for him this year. And he made a good point that I think is the reason you redshirt. You get to get more work in. So it's the difference between having to maybe save that kid and not push him so hard in the season because you need him to play, and being able to give him what essentially becomes a full year of off-season work. You just get to push him harder and harder and harder, get him bigger and stronger, and perhaps even leaner. And you can see how that plays out for some of these kids every year. I mean, they take the redshirt year, they come out big, they come out strong, they look just as fast, they look leaner and meaner, and Rambo is certainly seeing that, and it's paying dividends for Oklahoma. It was one of those things where he said, look, we could play him, and he'd be good, but if we didn't have to play him, because they had Hollywood Brown out there, we want to try to redshirt him because it'll help us in the future, but also it'll help him because he was a little too skinny, even by their standards, to come out there and play right away. Thought that was interesting. See, Riley on the transfers. Okay, so he was asked again with the success that Justin Fields has had, Joe Burrow's having, and of course Jalen Hurts is having, Austin Kendall even at West Virginia. Are coaches just more are they more likely to want to take on a transfer? And he's like, really, it was the kids. They're more likely to just want to transfer and take the leap. And he even gave a example of Trevor Knight, in that Trevor Knight wanted to stay at Oklahoma, and Lincoln talked to him and said, you got to be crazy, dude. I mean, we'd love to have you, and you'd be a great backup, but you want to play, and we want to see you play. Go to A&M. Go play. And that's what happened. So it doesn't always go the way that we think it goes, in which a kid is just disgruntled and wants to leave. Sometimes it's Lincoln saying, go, right? I want to help you, and probably providing one hell of a letter of recommendation to, at the time, Kevin Sumlin, still calling, or head coach out at A&M. See, by the way, that's a shot at A&M fans who don't get it. We continue to give you stuff. Keith Ford, Brandon Williams, Trevor Knight, you're welcome. See, he expects to get Kenneth Mann back this week ahead of Texas Tech. But he said, look, we're going to throw him in the rotation. He's going to have to earn reps like everybody else. I think with his game experience and his leadership, you're going to want Kenneth Mann on the field, and you just get deeper at defensive line. See, they can run the ball because they're talented. Yes, he was asked, okay, you guys are telling us that you're not executing well. You're telling us that you got so much to improve on, but we look at the stats and we could see that you're busting out 300-yard rushing performances. What is it then? He says, look, Jalen helps with that a lot, but we're just talented enough right now. He didn't say this is me. They're just talented enough to just go out there and beat people. But he said they can't even see perfect right now because they've just been so sloppy by the coaches' assessments and what they've been doing at offensive line and at running back. But it just works because to this point, they've just been more talented than their opponents. And that might be true in every game they play, except maybe we'll see about Texas. And even that, I think, is like even. But Oklahoma State could also match you when we're talking about offensive firepower and talent. Defensively is where you're going to be able to separate if you're Oklahoma. And that's one of the things that he brought up when talking about defensive recruiting. Now, when they go recruit now, they have 3 games to show defensive recruits. See, this works. And not only does this work, you see how many true freshmen we're playing right now? Come out here. We're going to give you a shot to play. I think that's awesome. And I think that is exactly the message that needs to be carried out. Let me see. One last thing about the second bye week. Yeah, they're going to use it to recruiting. That's really the big boon there. And they have been healthy, and that has been their saving grace. If Oklahoma stays healthy for the entire season, there's no reason to think they don't win a Big 12 championship and go undefeated, get an opportunity to play in the college football playoff again. All right, that's it for me. Doses.